News Channel 5 Network. This is Inside Politics.
Hello, everyone. I'm News Channel 5's political analyst, Pat Nolan. Welcome to Inside Politics. The name Clement in Tennessee politics and in Tennessee history is a very distinguished one. One of those who've brought that distinction is Bob Clement, the former congressman from Nashville who served 8 terms in Washington. Bob also served as the director of the Tennessee Valley Authority, a state public service commissioner, a college president, a military officer, and a successful businessman. Of course, his father, the late Frank Clement, was a 3-term governor of Tennessee. Other members of his family have also been involved in public service over the years. Bob's now written a book about his very interesting life, times, and family. He's with us on Inside Politics today. Bob, thanks. Welcome back on the show.
Great to be with you.
Now, your new book is entitled Presidents, Kings, and Convicts. What made you decide to use that title?
Well, I did it because I've met every president since President Harry Truman all the way through Obama. Early ones because of my father, Frank G. Clement, when he was governor of Tennessee, and many of them because of my career.
And you met a bunch of kings, too.
And then kings, I've met a lot of royal family, but also the exiled king of Afghanistan. I met with him right after 9/11 and the Northern Alliance leaders, and right outside Rome, Italy. But then I also met the king, Elvis Presley.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. You've also met convicts, too.
And then convicts, I grew up with them at the governor's residence. Highway patrol and convicts, and as age 9, I didn't know which group I liked the best.
Now, you mentioned that you've met every president since Harry Truman. Is your streak going to continue in the new administration? Do you know President-elect Donald Trump?
I have never met President Trump. Like to. As you know, I'm a Democrat, and I supported Hillary, and I wish him well because I hope he'll do everything he can to make sure our country's not as divided and divisive as it is today.
President-elect Trump built a lot of his campaign for president around big rallies that were held and televised nationally by the cable news networks. But it reminded me in a way, and I wonder if it reminded you of the way Tennessee politics used to be done, where the people who ran for governor or the senator went courthouse to courthouse, and they held rallies very similar to that, and people would come out and be there for hours and do that kind of thing.
Pat, it's an interesting comment you make because it has. Because when my father ran for governor, 52, 54, and 62, we had huge crowds. You know, you're lucky to have 100 people to show up at a political rally. And my father as running for governor in Tennessee, had 5,000 to 10,000 people, even in 1962.
And usually on the courthouse square in all 95 counties.
Yeah, and Dad and I spoke. Dad would speak, and I'd speak, and then I'd turn it back over to him, and he'd remind the crowd, remember, folks, I'm the candidate, not my son.
Now, you mentioned that you lived out of the governor's residence back in the 50s and the 60s, and that's where you met President Truman when he was former president. One of the stories you tell in the book is what happened when he sort of got out of pocket on everybody and scared everybody because you couldn't find him.
That's correct, Pat. He was former president at that time, and spent the night with us one night. And Dad, being a military guy and also a former FBI agent, he checked on him the next morning, 5:30 in the morning, at the guest bedroom upstairs at the governor's residence. No Truman. Went downstairs at the security detail. Where's President Truman? No one had seen him, and boy, Dad was livid by that time. And they found President Truman all by himself walking down Curtis Wood Lane.
Yeah, he loved to take walks even outside the White House, but in this case he was going through Curtis Wood Lane area. Now, you also had the chance to meet President Kennedy. He came to Nashville in May of 1963. You came home from college. I think you've told me before that you gave the grace at the luncheon when he was there. The president also got a cold shower that day.
Well, he did. You know, I was the fly on the wall. I'd watch and observe. I didn't participate as a kid, but Dad didn't kick me out of the room, let me listen. And we were in the bathroom, and as you know, at the governor's residence, the bathrooms are as big as most people's bedroom. And President Kennedy said he said, might want to take a shower, and Dad was trying to show him about the shower, and darned if that showered it when he turned that faucet, sprayed him pretty good, but he dried off.
There's another story in the book that you tell about the role that your dad may have played in helping President Kennedy get elected, because another of your dad's good friends was the Reverend Billy Graham, and he understood that the Reverend Graham was about to endorse Richard Nixon, but he talked him out of it.
Yes, Ambassador Kennedy, Jack Kennedy's father, called my father and says, "Governor, we need your help. We understand Billy Graham is getting ready to endorse Richard Nixon for the presidency, and we think it'll cost us our election." Dad called Billy because they were very close and traveled together and played golf together. And Billy said, "Yes, I've already given the article to Henry Luce of Time magazine endorsing Nixon over Jack Kennedy." Dad said, "Billy, don't do that. You divide yourself from millions of Americans. People are going to think you're anti-Catholic." Billy prayed about it, called Dad the next day, says, "I've canceled that endorsement." And remember, Pat, if one vote per precinct had changed, Richard Nixon would have beat Jack Kennedy.
You mentioned meeting kings, and you mentioned meeting the king of rock and roll. You actually got sort of a special concert from him at the governor's residence.
We did one day, and remember, I was fly on the wall, and I tell all these stories in the book. But Colonel Tom Parker, who lived here in Nashville, out in Madison area, called my father as governor and says, "Elvis is in town." Dad said, "Bring him out to the governor's residence."
This was
Dad
just
had never met him.
This is just when he was becoming very, very popular.
That's correct. He wasn't a superstar yet. It was mid-50s. And then my father picked up the phone and called Droopy Edwards, warden at the state penitentiary, "Bring the prisoners out to the residence." And they were grouped, all prisoners. All of them had 99-year sentences. The lead singer had 6 99-year sentences. Johnny Bragg wrote the song "Just Walking in the Rain." So here we had the prisoners and Elvis Presley and just the Clement family. And Elvis got so carried away singing and playing with the prisoners, he stayed till 3 o'clock in the morning.
Congressman Bob Clement, former Congressman Bob Clement, is our guest on Inside Politics. He's written a book called Presidents, Kings, and Convicts. Back to continue our conversation with the former congressman after this break.